Welcome to Hyphens Haven, the space for multi-hyphenate artists working on stage and off, in front of the camera and behind the scenes. We share our paths to becoming who we are. My name is Drea of Dream of Drea, a production company specializing in driving ideas from pages to stages and from your dreams to screens. Today is the second episode of Hyphens Haven, and I'm excited to shine a light on an artist who is responsible for light. He has designed the lighting for a number of companies, as well as scenery for Candlelight Dinner Theater, Snowy Range Summer Theater, Performance as Education, Las Memorias, Washington East Opera, CBC Summer Theater, and Idaho Repertory Theater. Currently, he is the chair of the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, KCACTF Region 7, and Ronn has received several awards for his designs, most notably the Kennedy Center Medallion for Excellence. Please welcome to the show, Ronn Campbell. How are you, Ronn?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much.
So as we want the audience to get to know who you are, let's start at your childhood. Where are you from? Who are your parents? Their professions. We want to know the foundation of your life.
Okay. So originally, I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah, lived there till about 6, and then family picked up and moved to Southeast Washington State, where I went to high school and actually still live and work. So from like age of 6 on. My parents, Eileen and Richard, my mom was a school bus driver and then went back to school and worked out of the nuclear industry for a little bit. But my dad, this is where I love, he was an auto mechanic. I think he was born with a wrench in his hand. He until he retired, he was just this auto mechanic. So he truly understood the whole idea of doing what you love. So he was a big supporter of me going into the arts.
Awesome. Did you have siblings with you that lived in the house too?
Let's see. Currently, no, but I have 3 sisters. Jody, Shauna, and Christy.
Nice. So we have the Campbells all growing together, and then comes elementary school. Where did you attend elementary school?
Eastgate Elementary School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a particular memorable moment from your elementary days?
Before I got into theater, I was a music major. I remember in 3rd grade, the orchestra teacher came by and I saw the string bass and I went, I need to play that. I know it was like 4 times bigger than I was, but I was going to play that. And so I picked it up and learned how to play that. And that led to a whole bunch of things.
Okay. From 3rd grade. So when did you begin playing it? If you were
4th grade, they walked by 3rd grade and said, hey, if you want to do this next year, do this. And I was excited. Mr. Sands was great. I would literally put my string bass on my bicycle and walk it home so I could practice.
Wow. So in 4th grade, you're playing, and then 5th grade, and are you playing the same instrument into middle school?
Way up until college. I've been playing, if you saw my house, there's basses and guitars and stuff, but yeah, through middle school as well.
Wow. Now, you mentioned one teacher in elementary school. Was there another teacher in middle school that had an influence with you?
Yeah, my music teacher, Greg Metcalf, and it was great. He was originally a saxophone player, played with Stan Kenton and some of those other greats, but really converted me from the upright bass to learn how to play the bass guitar, and really helped. Some of the things that he talked about was like how to learn music, practice it till you can't get it wrong, not till you get it right, but till you can't get it wrong. And that saying has really helped when I converted over to theater, was learning lines or working the show. It was getting it to you can't get it wrong. That's what you practice to.
I love that. Get it till you can't get it wrong. And
Mhm.
with that mantra leading into high school, was there a teacher there in high school that helped further your love for music? And is this where theater came into play?
Yes, theater came into play in high school. So I did marching band. So I learned how to play drums and tuba and all this stuff through the band directors. But then our drama director, Angie Ellis, I followed my girlfriend. It was junior year. They were doing Oklahoma, and I played in the orchestra pit several times, but I followed her into a rehearsal and they needed more cowboys and I could sing. So suddenly I'm a cowboy doing Oklahoma. And that was the very first experience to theater I ever did. So and started to build the love for theater after that.
That's pretty cool. So I heard you mention someone's name. Was she your first love in high school?
In high school, no. The young woman who I followed into theater, she was a foreign exchange student. We are still friends to this day. Astrid Vandenberg was her name, and we actually just exchanged some texts just the other day, so still in touch. But my first love in high school, freshman year, her name was Renee Wells. We dated for like over a year. It was wonderful. It was
That's
great.
cool. Was she also into theater too?
No. She later became a nurse. Very academically minded, really smart. It was yeah, I was the artistic type.
The artistic type in high school.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you are about to transition from high school into college, what propelled you to go in the direction of the college that you would eventually enroll in?
That was interesting. Right after college, I tried, I'm a first generation college student. So there was no thought of us going to college. So I went and did some vinyl siding, did some construction. And then I got a call, a friend of mine from high school, they needed a bass player for the jazz choir at the community college. And so that's how I got in, is I got a scholarship to play bass for the jazz choir. And then some of my friends from high school, there was the theater there, and I started to go over, do some plays, and then started to do design work, because in high school, I was in a lot of rock bands. When all my hair was off my chin and on my head, I was I was in rock bands, and we played all over. So I learned how to do sound and lighting from that world, and then started to do more of that in theater, and then started to get a love of doing that.
That's awesome. And this all started as being introduced as a third grader playing in fourth grade, and you kept building on that. And now
Mhm.
you're in college, still playing music in those spaces where art happens. So let me ask you, what would be your first major work? Did it come in college, or you're working through learning still?
My first work, I started to do some lighting and help with that, and I remember being on stage, and my subtext on stage was looking up going, oh, that gel burnt out, I got to fix that later. And then I realized I should be back there. I should be in the dark making other people look good. But it started because they needed a set designer for one of the shows, and I was asked, and I could draw a little. And so I started to do that, and really found a love for creating the world, the space in which the story could take place. And it really built off of that. So the first major work was what was that play? It was, I don't even remember now. Um, it was kind of like a fairy tale, modern take on fairy tales. So there was a prince and a queen, and kind of one of those silly plays, but not necessarily a major work.
Okay. So as you are working through college, because your first major work came after college, or you're still in college?
I'm still in college.
Okay. So as you're still in college, what is now propelling you to work in this field of lighting, to transition out of music? Because you could have went in that direction too, but something
Yeah.
pushed you towards lighting and set design.
I really loved that creation. And then the community college we were at, we had somebody come from the University of Idaho. His name is Dean Pantea, who became a big mentor for me. He came down, saw some stuff and talked to me, and he said, you have some chops. Do you want to do this for a living? And that was the first time that anybody put that thought in my head. I thought I was just having fun. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was a good student. I did my classes. But that was the first time anybody suggested I could do this for a living. And I was like, no, you can. I don't. And yes, you can. And so it propelled me. I transferred to the University of Idaho and really focused on doing lighting and scenery and sound design and all that for a degree.
Okay. So as you are learning different aspects of behind the scenes and your love for it is growing, you are now about to graduate. You graduate. So what will be that transition over from collegiate life into now you are offered your first work beyond your college degree?
Oh, that would have been Washington East Opera, stuff like that. I was doing adjunct teaching, and I was approached, and this is a group in Southeast Washington. They would bring, the director was from New York. These are professionals who are working all over. In college, I did work at Idaho Repertory Theater, which I continued that work with them. And it was fabulous. It was, here I am working with these directors from New York City and these major opera singers. And we were doing things like Marriage of Figaro, and my love of music paid off because I understood the phrasing that was going on. I understood what they meant by measures, and they were talking about, this phrasing that was happening. So I was able to match my lighting towards what was going on and being able to reinforce the story that's being told on stage without being overly fancy about the whole thing, but really supporting the work that was going on stage. It was a reinforcement of, yeah, you can make a living doing this. Am I going to be externally wealthy and become a billionaire? No, but I get to do what I love for a living, and that kind of reinforced that.
So going from your very first opportunity and how things work, there's always something that connects you to the next opportunity, and then another opportunity comes about. What dictates your choice to say yes to one of these projects that comes your way?
It is less about the story for me and more about the director. If the director is passionate about this story and about this play, I'm in. And I love things that are new. In this industry, there are shows that you repeat several times. I've done Little Shop of Horrors 5 times, luckily in different capacities each time. But so if it's a new story that I've never heard of, and I get to go explore and see somebody else's life and have that empathy, that's the part I love the most. So really, if somebody's just really excited for it, that's the part that's going to get me onto it more than anything else.
Okay. So for those who are listening and have an interest about getting into this space, can you describe what your process is? If you say yes to this project, how do you go through the work? What is that for you? What does that look like?
There was something that I learned through college and then later in grad school, and it was reinforced. I try to read the play 4 times. So the first time I read it, I try to read it just for fun, just try to just enjoy the story. That doesn't always happen, but that's what I try to do. The next one, I read it for practical. What are some things that I need? What is described in the script? All that kind of stuff, and make that practical list. And then it's the fun part for me. Then I read it again, thinking about the metaphorical. What is this play like? What does it feel like? And then I start to do some research, which is spectacular. I love going to the library and looking things up and finding something, a piece of art that looks like that, so I can have that discussion with the director. What is that like? And once we kind of nail those things down, then it's the nitty gritty. It's the putting it all together to create the final moments of what that part looks like. But lots of discussions with the directors. I ask why, maybe a little bit too much. If the director goes, I want this, I'm like, why? What is it about the script? What is it that you're trying to do? I just want to understand, and that helps me create a look and a feeling for that director that works for them. That's my favorite part. It's and why when the play starts and opens, then I'm kind of like, all right, now it's on to the next one.
Understood. Understood. Yes.
Yeah.
We as artists have to be able to love it and let go.
Let it go.
Yes. So has there been a seminal experience for you thus far in the projects that you've had?
There's been a couple, three. There was one production at Idaho Repertory Theater, and it was a production of Dangerous Liaisons. Everything, the acting was superb. I was the lighting designer, the set designer, everything came. It's one of those productions that everything came together just like we talked about, and it was moving. I hated to watch that show close. It just felt so good. And so now it's like, okay, how can we get that back again? And I've worked on some productions afterwards for friends of mine at other universities and things like that have had that feeling, but everything goes back to that first production of Dangerous Liaisons. The whole design process was wonderful. But the execution was phenomenal.
Okay. And thinking about that seminal experience for you, has working throughout all of the projects you've worked on, has your practice of how you do things change, or has it been kind of even keel?
It's been pretty consistent. I've gotten faster. Reading the scripts, I start to see things, pick things up a little bit quicker. I now have enough experience and time that I don't worry so much about what light board I'm working on. I've worked on so many now that I know how to work on those. So it's really more about the lights themselves, the structures. I'm really good about, all right, what do I have to work with? I don't worry about that as much anymore. The inventory of which I get to work with. I can make art out of anything, and I'm comfortable with that now. Where early in my career, it was, I have to have all the lights. I have to have all these things. If I don't have the gear, I can't make the art. And what I've learned over the years is, doesn't matter what the gear is. You have to make art with what you're given. And if you're comfortable, and so now I'm really comfortable with knowing I can do that. So that confidence then helps the rest of the team relax about some of those things. Yeah.
So what would be your goal as a professional?
At this point, I mean, there's a couple plays that I have on my list, of that I'd really love to work on. One of those is August Wilson's Piano Lesson. I just love that script, and I want to do that show. I would love to light that show, or even design the set for that show. So that's one that I'd be looking forward to. But I am so in the moment of just being present of what is next on my list and how much fun can we have. But I think I don't know. I feel I sometimes go back to the idea of I wasn't initially supposed to be here, so I'm enjoying the moment. I didn't know that this was a possibility when I was 8. So I really love what I do, and I'm just enjoying it.
Okay. Are there artists that you would like to be compared to in your line of work?
That's always hard. I mean, there's a couple scenically. I love Mimi Lien. She's a wonderful. She did the set for Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1918. Fabulous designer. I love her concepts of that. I would love that. Lighting. There's Jennifer Tipton. Natasha Katz is great. I think those would be the people on my initial list.
Okay. So now we're moving into the rapid round, I call, as
Okay.
we're not only getting to know your work and your artistry, but we want to get to know who you are. So I'm just going to ask you some quick questions. Okay.
Okay.
You ready? All right.
I'm ready.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
All right. What book would you give as a gift?
The Dragon Eye by Stephen King.
Okay. What movie can you not resist watching if it came on right now?
Airplane.
Yes. Yes, with Leslie Neal. Favorite recipe to cook?
It's a sweet thing. I make cheesecake from scratch, and it's phenomenal. I love it.
Nice. What is your favorite word?
Brilliant.
Okay. What makes you laugh the most?
Stupid humor that's based on words. Kind of,
Okay.
that's why I like Airplane. Yeah.
Okay. What sound or noise do you absolutely love?
Baby's giggles.
Nice. I love it because it makes me laugh immediately upon hearing it.
Yeah.
What would be your theme song or ring entrance when you walk into a room?
Oh, Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne.
Nice. Okay. If you could choose one superpower, what would it be?
Mind control.
Okay. And since you are a mind control superhero, who would be your arch nemesis?
Ooh, that I guess the Riddler,
Okay.
maybe.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you walk into a bar, what would you order to drink?
Probably scotch.
Okay. Straight on the rocks, right?
Yep.
Okay. Who is your favorite person to follow on social media?
Oh, Jay Duckworth.
Okay. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I wish I could let go of my OCD.
Okay. And if you could offer yourself one piece of advice, your younger self, one piece of advice, let's say you're a high school graduate, what would that advice be to your younger self?
There are only 2 people you need to impress in this world: your 8-year-old self and your 80-year-old self.
Okay. That's wonderful. And about your current work, can you please let us know where you are currently?
I am currently a professor at Columbia Basin College in Washington State.
Okay. And how can people learn more about you or follow you on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot, just in case someone hears this and they just want to learn more about the lighting world?
Lighting World, I'm on Facebook. That is the main thing. And if you want to see, I also do a lot of 3D printing with lighting and stuff like that. And you can find me on Thingiverse under Ronn Skull.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those of you who are watching, we have come to the end of this short get to know session with Ronn Campbell. I am so grateful that you joined us today. Please come back next week. We have episodes every week in which we highlight some artists either working in front of the camera, behind the scenes, on stage, or off. I believe that we should absolutely get to know these artists. Again, thank you again for joining us, and we'll hear from you next week. Bye, everybody.